to another edition of the Amazons and Afriprenuers interview series from the stable of Agbari Multimedia Company. Here we showcase and celebrate Amazons and Afripreneurs on the African continent. And like I always say every week, our mission, of course, is to inspire you into greatness after listening to our very, very rich interviews every week as we celebrate winning Amazons and Afripreneurs in the African continent. Of course, if you have any questions at all, kindly drop them in the comment section and we'll surely get back to you. You can reach us on all our social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and leave a comment. We also appreciate an email on the website. Leave any message that you have, feedbacks, and all of that. And, we'll get back to you. Today, I'm with an Afripreneur that has distinguished himself in the business world. But before I bring him on, let me quickly play his bio.
Babajide Oluwase is a chartered sustainability professional and the founder of Ekotutu, a clean tech company enabling businesses in the agriculture and health value chain to have access to affordable solar-powered cold storage solutions end-to-end. Since 2014, he has acquired extensive and relevant experience in creating environmental management solutions and has a proven track record of consistently establishing cost-saving initiatives. He is a lead auditor with a BTech honors in urban and regional planning from the Federal University of Technology, Akure, Nigeria, a mini MBA from Lagos Business School, and an alumnus of the Triple College of Business, University of Iowa, USA. Babajide has extensive experience managing projects and driving compliance for corporate organizations and government MDAs. In 2016, he authored the Young Climate Heroes book and have helped 7,000 students understand the basics of climate change and sustainability using story and co-designed a zero-waste integration program reaching 12,000 plus students in secondary schools across Nigeria. Babajide is a recipient of multiple awards and fellowship, including the Sustainable Solution Africa 30 Under 30 Fellow and the Mandela Washington Fellow, amongst others. He currently advises the European Union, EU, delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS on green digital economy.
Welcome, Mr. Babajide Oluwase. Or how do I pronounce your surname, please?
Thank you. Yeah, Oluwase.
Oluwase, welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Amazons and Afripreneur interview series, where we celebrate our own to inspire our youth. So I'm hoping that this interview, after today's interview, somebody out there is inspired to follow the path that you have set a pace in.
It's all right.
Okay, so quickly, I hope that our bio captured everything about you, but if we did not, kindly add anything that we did not capture in your bio.
Well, I think the bio capture like everything except the fact that I'm not even close to being a doctor.
Okay.
So I don't have the title of the doctor to my name, but maybe you're saying it in advance already.
We are saying it in the spirit. I mean, how did they say it? We are praying. So, doctor in making.
It's
Yes.
okay.
So, tell us about founding Ekotutu or Ekotutu and how you've been solving the power problem for small scale businesses.
Okay, so the correct pronunciation is Ekotutu. Eko is not tutu yet, right? Eko is not tutu yet. So it's Ekotutu coined from the name because we leverage on solar energy, which is renewable, to provide cooling, right? So the eco cooling, eco chilling. And because we want to be able to curate and also sort of promote our culture and language here, and so we use the word tutu instead of saying eco chilling or eco cold or whatever. And our mission is very clear as a company. We the work is, so we didn't just start to say we want to solve cold storage problem, right? In the course of doing advocacy within the environment space over the years, we saw how much food waste contribute to this environmental problem. And beyond it being an environmental problem, we're also able to see it as an economic problem. I mean, we couldn't make sense of how would people put effort into producing food, and then we are saying the food produced is not even enough to cater for the growing population, and 40-45% of that still end up as waste, right? We can't just make any sense of that. So environmental standpoint, we want to cut down waste. Economic standpoint, we want to be able to ensure that people, smallholder farmers, aggregators, and retailers in that value chain are able to capture as much value as possible. And more importantly, that consumers like you and myself would have access to quality food. So this is what we set out to do using the power of renewable energy to provide cold storage services for these businesses. And we do it from farm to table. So we don't just provide cold storage in the farm. So right from the point of harvest till it gets to the doorstep of final consumers, we are providing cold storage solutions across these points. And that sort of describes what we're doing as a company.
Just listening to you shows that you're somebody who I would almost say you're like a perfectionist, but some people just might not agree with the use of that word. So I'll say you're someone who has demonstrated excellence. And for someone who thinks, I want to do Eco Tutu, but then you're doing the entire, you've thought it all through, shows that someone who believes in excellence and standards. In our world today, we see standards being lowered every day. I don't know how the next generation will find it, but our generation, the Gen Zs, all of them are finding it tough already. How would you say, seeing how you've demonstrated excellence by creating environmental management solutions and the record of establishing cost saving initiatives since 2014, how would you say we'll bring back excellence into our daily lives and activities in Africa?
Well, we need to get ourselves aware. I mean, that's the first point. So I'll give a very practical example. When I usually would leave the shores of Nigeria to other part of the world where it seems to be they've had like maybe considerable level of progress, right? And then there's this question around, but why can't we just do this in Nigeria? I mean, what is so hard about doing this? And I think for some of us, it's in those realizations. I mean, I didn't get inspiration from outside the country. I got my inspiration from even seeing things not making sense within my environment here. Environment like places in Abeokuta, environment like places in Lagos, environment like places in Akure. Me seeing that this thing could be better, right? We read a lot of contents that capture stories of things happening in different parts of the world. We see movies, even though movies are not like a best representation of how things are playing out, sometimes some of these stories are biased, but we sort of see what is possible. This is how these people are sort of handling things like this. And then when you dig deeper, right, you realize that it's not so much of a big deal. It is just a bunch of individuals or set of people coming together to say, we can make this thing better, right? So instead of now joining the queue of people that are always complaining and wallowing, I mean, I still complain, but this is now me saying, I want to play my part, right? Identify this gap, and this is what I'm doing to plug this gap. So it starts from that consciousness. I mean, you can't just wake up and say you want to be excellent. Excellent in what, right? It starts from saying, I want to position myself as that person that doesn't just complain and just let go. I want to be that person that complains. After complaining, I want to start asking critical questions on what have we done? What are we doing? Who is doing what? How can we better address this, right? So in the course of that, I'm able to also identify other people that sort of want to have the same interest or that have the same burning desire to want to be able to address that same problem. And then we go on to start addressing those things. And in the course of wanting to address, you now start thinking about what is the best way for us to be able to address this, right? Like for the Eco Tutu story, we didn't just wake up one morning and say, we want to solve the problem of cold chain from farm to table. It's in the process of we subjecting ourselves to continuous learning to say, We've identified opportunity in this space. We've seen gaps. We want to solve it. We want to also be able to make fortune from solving that problem. How best can we solve it? That was when we realized that, guys, if you want to solve this problem of coaching, you can't just build coach room and say you solved the problem of coaching, right? It also goes back as the cultural side of it. People have been used to doing things a particular way for decades, right? So you can't just wake up one morning and say you have a fantastic solar power technology and then you expect people to just change overnight, right? So you need to start working people consciously into also understanding their standpoint and getting them to also understand your standpoint and gradually get them to adopt some of the solutions. And it is in the process of doing all of that that we're able to learn how best can we serve this market? What do they need? What really makes sense? How can we capture value? So it's in the answering those questions that we've been able to get to the point where we are. And we are not even stopping, right? Because the continuous learning, continuous asking questions, and the continuous quest for improvement. So yeah, so this same mindset, whether I'm doing Eco Tutu or something else, it's still the same way I would walk through doing whatever I want to do, asking critical questions, understanding the space I'm playing, and really subjecting myself to continuous learning.
I'm enjoying this conversation, and I've noted certain areas. You mentioned that start an awareness, as the first thing, and being a catalyst for change. When we return, because I'm going on a short break to let us digest what we've just heard. I like that you're creating solutions, and in creating solutions, you've empowered yourself as well as your friends that you had the same way of thinking with. So I'll go on a short break. When we come back, I'll move on with this question. I want to dig deep. I hope you're open to sharing about the sort of technology that Eco is. I want to see how it captures, just so that you give somebody the image or the enough description to imagine that possibility. But let me go on a quick break. When I return, we'll continue the conversation.
All right.
I still have with me Mr. Been corrected, not Dr. Babajide Oluwase. Thank you so much for joining me today. And earlier, when you were answering my first question, you talked about how it's important to, to bring the experience you have abroad and what you pick from the movies and use them, because there's nothing extraordinary about it, and bring them here and solve problems and wonder why things are the way they are, rather than rant, which is the crowd zone. Those of us in the crowd, join the solution thinkers and think of solutions to change our situation. So I'll call you a catalyst of change today. I've given you that title. But quickly, can you break down what the Eco technology looks like? Did you make machines, or just cooling vans, or what exactly did you make? And how do you process this harvest from the farms? Do you, convert them from plants to finished products, or you just preserve them in I want a clear image of what you do, please.
Okay, so before going into that description of Eco so I would say our work basically starts from the point where that tomato, for example, is harvested from its stem. What happens to this tomato after it's been harvested? That's where I come in. That's where Eco comes in. What you typically have is farmers harvesting the proteins, for example, keeping in raffia baskets, as we know it, age long. And so let's say a farmer harvests like 10 baskets of tomatoes, she starts it somewhere. And then this guy comes as the middleman, right, to take off the 10 raffia baskets off the farmer. And then the middleman takes it to the market. That's scenario one. Scenario two is that the farmer takes the basket of tomatoes herself to the market to sell. Two things are likely to happen in the market. If she gets to the market and there's not so much tomato in the market, and then you have more buyers, that's a good day for the farmer, right? Because you can like say, hey, I'm selling this basket of tomato for 7,000 or 5,000. And because it's not so much in the market, people are rushing it, right? Scenario two is that you have a lot of farmers like her that comes to the market with their harvest of tomatoes. And then you have more tomatoes in the market than the number of people that wants to buy. And then the price crashes, right? And then she might sell for as low as 500 naira per basket or as low as 700 naira per basket because she can't deal with the fact that she wants to take that basket of tomatoes back home. I mean, how will she keep it? What does she want to do with it? She just has to sell it. And that's lost casting out from there. And what my solution or what Eco2 solution offers here is two things. First is they've been building cold rooms before, way before I was born, right? So cold room is not new. But we also understand how much of energy dependent a functional cold room is and how it's still a luxury for us in this part of the world having access to uninterrupted power supply, right? Meaning that for those that even need this solution, for those that have refrigerators at home, they say they don't have power to power it or to run it, right? And this is where renewable energy comes in, which is solar in this case, right? We are saying for that small little farmer that doesn't have constant electricity, some of them don't even have at all, right? But that small little farmer that can't afford to spend millions of naira to build cold rooms, we have a solution for you. And that solution is that we set up Eco2 cold rooms at strategic locations close to farms and markets. All you have to do is just bring your produce to store, right? So now you're not storing in raffia baskets, you're storing in plastic crates. So meaning that it helps in also preserving the produce way better than what you have with raffia basket that presses the produce, right? And then this farmer pays as little as 150 naira for a crate of tomatoes per day. So they don't have to worry about what the technology looks like. They don't have to worry about energy or power access, all these activities. If I'm storing 5 crates of tomatoes, I just need to bring that 5 crates of tomatoes to that center, to the cooling point. If they take it in, I keep it for a day or two for as long as I want to keep it till I get a good deal in the market for me to sell. So in this case, I'm not in haste to sell my produce because of the fear of it going bad, right? From the technology standpoint, like I said, the cold room, for example, is so we have the cold room, which is solar powered. We have the mobile delivery, so we have the trucks. We have the cooling bikes. So the cooling bike has an element in it which is proprietary to us that ensures cooling on the go, right? So it's like, so we call it iCell. It works like battery. And the way you recharge that battery is just to put these iCell packs in your freezer, right? Once you have the iCell packs frozen, you have a part in the mobile box where you insert it, and it helps you ensure cooling of deliveries for the entire day. For the cold rooms, you have like the solar panels placed on the panels. There's this part of the cooling system where we store energy in form of ice, right? Even for days when there is no sunlight, this cold system takes its cooling energy from that ice that has been built within the system. And when you have sunlight again, it recharges, it builds ice again, and the cycle continues, right? So this is what we've been able to build into our technology to make it efficient, to make it cost effective, and also to also contribute well to the environment across point. The interesting thing also is that for even like really small businesses, we have what we call the cooler bags. So if you feel, oh, I don't need cold rooms, I don't need the cooling trucks, I don't need the cooling bikes, we have what we call the cooler bags that helps you move not so much volume of fresh items. It could be fruit and vegetables, it could be beef, it could be seafood, it could be vaccine in some cases. It helps you to be able to move. So you can just get the cooler bag, put your stuff in it, it helps to retain the temperature. You can put in your car trunk, you can put in your back seat, and then off you go doing your deliveries.
You know, the only question I was going to ask earlier was what kind of produce do you take? That is it just plants, or do you take animal for harvest as well, like the beef that you mentioned? But you answered all of that. You do seafood, you do beef, you do plants and vegetables. Well done. That's all I would say. While we were on the break, I started to Google pictures of Ekotutu, and I would say that this interview should have had those pictures here, not even your face. That's innovation at its best. Well done. I'm very, very proud to interview you. Let me quickly move on. You have done exceptionally well, like I said, and people would wonder how. Can you share with us some of the strategies and risks that you, or challenges that you had to face and how you combated or faced them?
So for challenges, I would say starting out, like for example, for what we're doing at Eco22, when we're starting out, we sort of have this perfect idea in our head, right? Like, hey, we'll build like a portable cooling box, and then the price will not be more than 30,000 naira, like, so that each farmer can afford it, right?
Be able to afford
And
it.
and then we can like sell to like hundreds or thousands of farmers, and then to be solar powered. That was like the idea that we had to solve that problem. When we got on the field, we met a different ballgame entirely. I mean, there was this story I like to tell about a potential user that we saw. She was sitting close to heaps of harvested banana, for example. And these banana were, some of them were already ripe, some are not so ripe, some are already somewhat going bad. And immediately we spotted this woman with heaps of banana. We were so excited that this is a very good case for us to go and talk to this person about what we are building in terms of cold storage and how it can help us to sort of preserve our banana from going bad. And then we started saying this thing, and then the next thing she told us was, what do you guys want to do to it? Do you want to inject? So she's not so learned, right? And she's somewhat older, right? I mean, she looks like someone in her 60s. There's someone in her 60s, if not even older.
That's talking
And
always.
yeah, so we're like, oh, and she was like, oh, what do you guys want to do to the banana? Do you want to inject it and stop it from ripening, or what do you want to do to it? At first, we were dumbfounded, right? Because we didn't even know what to do. We're not expecting that. We're expecting that she would be so excited and she wants to try our technology. And then she was like, it's whatever God says she will make per harvest cycle that she would make, right? If God says she will make a loss, so be it. If God says she will make profit, so be it. I mean, we're so weak. I mean, we can't contest with whatever. Someone saying whatever God says would happen is she's fine with it.
Or make.
And we faced series of situations like that. And then we told ourselves that, guys, maybe it's not the people that we even think need this solution that we're actually talking to. Or maybe we are not talking to them in a manner that they would like to engage, right? And that got us back. And we now realize that many of them are not even interested in buying these solutions or technology. Many of them just want to stop. They don't care about your technology. If you like, use oxygen to power it. It's none of their business. Their own is that
Yes.
they want this thing to be, they just want, okay, I want this thing to be available like this for me.
You don't want to
fresh.
deal with the entire the baggage.
Yeah,
You just
and then
want
we
to
went
enjoy
there
the
talking about
benefits.
the whole interesting thing about our technology. It is power with this, da, 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 da. It doesn't make sense. And then we realized that the people that we wanted to target, smallholder farmers, right, that wanted to target, were not the real customers. They could serve as users, but not the real customers that will be paying for that service. Because many of them are used to, I harvest in the morning, in 2 hours, Baba Ahmed has come around to pick my harvest up. I don't have to worry about where he wants to go and sell it. My own is that the next day to send my own money to me, right? That's what they've been doing with for years. So they don't intend to keep. If anybody wants to keep, it should be the middleman or the aggregator that understands the business side of this value chain. And so we shifted our focus a bit to the guys that understand the business of this value chain. And that's almost, we don't have to speak too much English for them to understand the value that we're bringing to the table. So yeah, so the first thing is that around that, the cultural understanding of the market was the first challenge that we had to grapple with. But yes, we were able to eventually identify who are the people that we need to be talking to, who are the people that we need to be working with. And that's eventually the aggregators, the middlemen, and the likes. That's the first challenge. The second challenge is about the cost and how we get to deliver our value to customers. When we're starting out, like I said, we wanted to build something affordable that we can sell to them. But it turns out that many of them don't even care. They don't intend to buy, right? And then that also helps us in shifting to the service model, which is that we set up this cold storage in this area when we've done our feasibility study, and then people only come and use it when they have things to store, right? And then people pay only when they have things to store. It turns out that they love this flexibility, right? So it means that if I'm storing 10 crates, I'm just paying for that 10 crates. If I'm storing for 2 days, I'm just paying for 2 days, right? So I'm not bounded to be paying tens of thousands that I might not use or that I might not need. If I'm storing for just half a day, I know I'm just paying for that. If I'm storing just 3 kilos of tomatoes and pepper, I'm just paying for that. So we're able to pick that challenge and be able to create a business model out of it to now build what we call the cooling as a service. So whilst we're providing the cold storage as a service to the small businesses, we are also now building and deploying for bigger businesses that are able to afford it and understand the need for them to own their own facility. So that's it. I would say I've been blessed with the gift of people in terms of support. Um, Support from the angle of intellectual support, just being there to listen to my crazy ideas and support, and then trying out different things and all that. Those are some of the things that have kept me going.
Amazing. I think the cooling idea for rent is amazing. I'm also just suggesting that partnership with the agri banks to fund farmers to be able to afford buying would also be a great idea. Because I know funding is why most of them, when you gave the woman story, I was laughing. Money is always an issue for an average Nigerian. They'll think, why do I have to pay so much? To what benefit? Especially when they're not as educated. And
Yeah.
so when you have a partnership with some of these banks to help, farmers get a lot of grants.
Mhm.
Government is looking at diversifying, and farming is one of such ideas. It would be nice to have such an arrangement where some farmers in areas where they can access your storage facility would be able to afford funding to buy. Then my question is, if for instance, because I buy chicken, my sister-in-law
Okay.
has a poultry farm in Lokoja. So instead of taking money out, just patronize her. I buy from Lokoja and it has to get to Lagos. Sometimes we do some funny storing if you see what we have to do to get it here fresh. If I want fresh, I don't want smoked chicken. She has to get it here fresh because sometimes I want to make meals that I can get the broth, and
Mhm.
sometimes I want to make meals that I just need smoked chicken. So smoked chicken is always easier for her. But if she has to
Mhm.
store, so would your cooling system be able to transport for long distance like that? Local drive should be about 7 hours
Yeah.
minimum to Lagos.
Yeah. So for our own use case, the cooler bag fits best into our kit. So this will help her keep the
But
produce intact.
large storage, for instance, we're talking of a large poultry harvest. So she
Okay. So
breeds for a while,
okay.
and then she's harvesting for a long time. So we're all buying at the same time. She just announces to everybody who's interested. I'd love to see if I had a store here, if you could bring me 1 million birds already harvested.
Yeah, I mean, so for our own case, the different solutions that fits in is we have the solar powered cold rooms, which is at the point of processing. Then for transporting, we have our cooling trucks that would enable the movement from Lokoja or any part of the country down here. And then when it gets here and you want to even further distribute to customers in bits and pieces, we have the cooler bags that can help you distribute it to homes. And so for those that are buying, say 5 to 10 kg size of chicken and you want to distribute to them. So this is like end-to-end solution, right? And then Echo to have you covered. I'm sure we'd definitely want to speak further on that to see how we can take up that business engagement.
God bless you for this idea, really. I'd just like to ask, brought about this passion, the passion, of being the founder of Ekotutu? Did you have a background in agriculture or something? Did you experience anything in the past
Well, my background
that
is in
informed
urban and
this
regional
idea?
planning. Um,
Okay.
well, bulk of my work has been within the environment space. So I've done a lot of advocacy in environmental management, climate change, sustainability, and the likes. And so it's in the course of doing all of these advocacy and awareness that I was also seeing how much food waste. I mean, I get to see tomatoes stacked by the roadside in open markets after like days of supply and sales, and maybe the ones they are unable to sell that goes bad. They just sort of stack them in one corner of the market and everything just doesn't make sense. I've been doing the environmental advocacy thing before then, but it seemed like it's a bigger problem to deal. So I wasn't looking in that direction. Not until I was doing my National Youth Service Corps program in Abuja, and then I went into some of these communities, still going about my environmental evangelism. And then I saw a lot more of this food perishing. And I think something just struck a chord in me to say, oh, this is a lot of money wasting away, right? And then I also have read about how much food waste, right, contribute to this our ozone layer depletion, what we are talking about in the environmental side. And I'm like, okay, why not just find a solution to this thing? What are the solutions? Cold storage. How many people are playing in that space? Why are people not adopting it if cold storage is a problem? So it's in the why that we're able to understand that if you have cold storage, how will you power it? There's no reliable power, so you have to buy generator, and you need to buy diesel to keep running that non-stop. It doesn't make economic sense to a lot of people. On the other side, you look at most people cannot even afford to do these things. The big guys, the big companies already can afford it, so these ones are taking care of themselves. But how many of the big guys do we have, right? So we have a lot more of small and mid that if they have money today, they would rather put it in other things within their business and investing it on this side. So affordability was a problem. And more importantly, I thought I want to solve environmental problem. I've been trying to do this in different ways for a while, right? And I say food is something that will never go into extinction. Food cannot go out of fashion, right? So far people are still existing on this planet Earth. We'll keep eating, and then there will be need for us to keep preserving what we've been able to produce. And I'm like, yeah, so it makes sense from environmental standpoint, it makes sense from the social standpoint, and it makes sense from economic standpoint. And then I rolled my sleeve, talked to a few people, and we got into the ring.
And you did the work, rolled up your sleeves and got to work. You must be somebody that loves hard work, and you're true to yourself. So I'd love to dig into your mentality and see how you see things. What do you consider success, and what would you consider failures?
What do I consider success? So from my practical, from my experience, what I see as success is setting out a plan, right? Setting out a plan, having some expected outcomes from that plan, and then driving at it. That's realizing those outcomes at the end of the day. I see that as success, because like sometimes there are some things that like I sort of achieve and I look back and say, oh, there was a time I was actually planning towards this. And here I am now, I've done it, and I'm almost forgetting that I've done it, moving on to the next thing. Right there and there, I realized that, yeah, actually smashing this thing. Failure on the other side is me wanting to say, I want to do this is why I want to do this is what I want to achieve at the end of the day, and eventually me not doing it, right? Me doing it and maybe not achieving the expected outcome, to me is still success, right? Because I plan to do this thing, I did it, the outcome didn't show up as I expected, or the result I got is not what I was envisaging, but then I did it, right? And I learned something in the course of doing it that would also be useful and helpful for me in subsequent things I want to do, right? But me planning something, me envisaging something, me telling myself why it's important for me to do that thing, and me eventually doing that thing is what I term as failure on my part.
So if you've not done something that you intend to do, or that you have completely abandoned, that's the only thing you can consider failure. So let me twist it again, in local language. No, go on, please.
Yeah, so I just sort of want to reiterate on that to say it's not every time things will go as I plan, and I've told myself that it's okay, right? But if I'm convinced about something to say, I want to do this, I'll do it. And these are what I'm expecting as the outcomes. And I realized that I was pushing and pushing and pushing, and I did eventually do it. And it's a call to action to myself to say I'm failing, right? Because I already told myself I want to do this thing. I'm convinced I want to do it. But eventually turn out not doing it, right? And I say I'm failing in that regard. But I'm convinced I want to do this thing. I have like expected outcomes in mind, and then I get into it. The fact that I'm able to push it to a point, like try to put my effort, it didn't come out I expected. I still pat myself on the back to say, hey man, you didn't just sit back and get this sort of results. You planned it, you work towards it, you put in the work. It's not just meant to be, or it's just not planned to go the way you expect it to be, right? That's one leg. I pick the lessons, I move. The ones that have turned out really fine, I celebrate myself as much as I can. I pat myself again on the back, and I reach out for even bigger things ahead of me. Yeah, so that's sort of just
I love that definition of what failure and success is. I particularly love it because of the way our youth are now thinking. So push yourself by telling certain things that you don't get to do, that you know you ought to have done or you've set for yourself as considering failure, so that you push yourself to always try out what you intend to do, no
yeah.
matter the outcome. But if I ask, like they say in Nigeria, local languages or the streets, have you arrived? You know,
I've not
when
arrived, though.
what we consider success, when we say I've arrived, that means you're
I've
materialistic.
not arrived, though.
Money, money,
My
money
husband
everywhere.
been
You're
using
buying
me to
out.
place like this. Come and help me,
You're using
oh.
coffin to bring your champagne.
Hey, I
Eh,
didn't do
eh.
me.
So the investors bring money, come
So
and help. We're not looking
yeah.
at it like that.
So the thing is, what I would say is, um, so I mean, I know it's a cliche, but then it's what it is, right? Like, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I also want to be honest with myself. For every passing day, every passing week and month, I'm somewhat getting like I'm in the right direction. Let me put it that way. Um, if I look back and say, if I'm not doing what I'm doing, or what else will I be doing, like that I'll be proud of, and I'll say I'm somewhat living in that path. Because from way back, I've known myself to be that kind of person that will enjoy doing multiple things at the same time, right? Um, Not just doing one particular thing, and like a routine life. I mean, to some people they love it and it's okay, right? For someone like myself, I get bored with doing one particular thing for an extended period of time, right? So I want to be able to do different things that interest me as much as I want to. I want to have that level of freedom to also be able to be in different places, doing different things that I want to do at different point in time. And I would say right now it's something that I am able to do, right? And because this is one of those things I've envisaged, just so someone give me hope to say, okay, maybe I'm on the path, or I think I'm on that path to get myself to where I really want to be. Yeah, so that's it. And then yeah, one of the major highlights is now, when you conceive an idea to solve a problem, and then you now start, like years later, you now start hearing from people that you never knew before, start hearing from them how the solution you've created is saving them a lot of headaches, saving them a lot of money, and saving them a lot of time. That feeling is
Yes,
inexplainable, right? Because, like, oh my God, this thing
yes,
was just on the
that's
paper,
fulfilling.
or this thing was just in my head some years back. And now these people are saying this thing is making their life easier. I mean, that is a validation to say you guys are doing the right thing, keep
That's a
improving,
success.
and keep doing.
Yes.
And that is success for what
Thank you so
I
much.
have decided to do.
Nigeria needs 20 million of you. That's the honest truth. If we have 20 million of you, the world will be a better place. That's how the youth should think. So let me quickly dig into your past. Let's
Yes.
assume a young person listening to this interview today wants to tell the
Mhm.
exact steps that you took from school. What would you advise that a young person who wants to be the next Babajide Oluwase, the moment he takes his jam and gets admitted, what should be his way of life? How can you advise them to go about becoming a you?
Okay, so I'll say from two standpoints. some of us are lucky enough to identify the area, maybe not clearly that activity, but the area where we want to play or we want to operate. So for my case, like I said, being exposed to the learning of climate change and environment, and then I just have this affinity for everything open space, right? Sort of helped build my interest in that space. And this was some of those things that has inspired what I do with Eco22, what I've done with other solutions I've created, what I've done in my professional career, and the likes. For some people, you might not be able to identify it as easily as some other people have been able to do, and it's okay, right? But one thing that I think had helped from the get-go is that I'm always very curious about things. I'm always very interested in trying out things, right? Very open-minded. Oh, I'm not saying, oh, because this thing is not environmental, I won't even see what is behind it or what it entails. I want to try it. I want to be able to have a sense of, okay, this is what this thing is all about, and this is what this thing could do. Because it is in the trying, it's in the curiosity, it's in the asking that you might not eventually be able to identify where you want to operate, right? So to young people listening, from the get-go, maintain open mind, right? Open mind of trying out things, getting involved in different things, whether you think it's relevant at that stage or it's not relevant. But I mean, to find something that sort of makes sense of your time and effort, get involved with it. Maintain open mind in getting those things and seeing those things. Along the path, you might just be able to identify a gap, right? In something that maybe might not be entirely of interest to you, but you might just be involved in this and say, oh, people are actually having challenge with this thing. What if I curate something? Or what if I support this? Or what if I build this? What if I... It's in those things that you're able to identify gaps. There are gaps in a lot of things, almost everywhere, right? There are gaps. There are things that need improvement. A lot of things need improvement. There are things that we need to do better. And so it's in you having that mindset of not just sitting back to look for the problems and complain, but you having the mindset of, okay, what are the gaps? What can I do to be able to plug the gap, right? And then it's in the what you can do that you cannot say, how can you go about addressing those things? And then like I said earlier, that I've been blessed with the community of amazing people that it's easy for me to run my crazy ideas by. And while running the idea, you already see one or two that say, oh, they would like to even test it with me, right? And that sort of makes me, so I'll say I've been very fortunate with a lot of these things. I mean, you also can be fortunate as well. It's not like when I was at that age, it's not like I was sensible enough to exactly pick who I want to be rolling with, right? But I was fortunate about, to an extent, I was also, it's not like I was totally off it, but it's not like I was also consciously saying, no, this is where I want to move with, this is not where I want to move with, no, right? But I was just fortunate to be blessed with those sort of people that once I bring the idea, they're ready to like take it a step further. They're already looking at how can we test it, how can we try it, and all those sort of things. And fast forward to even when I was done with my undergrad program, while I was doing my service, almost everyone around me sort of had a sense of my personality, right? Like they know I'm this kind of guy that he's always wanting to do something, right? It's not just the kind of guy that just fits into the norms of, oh, this place, or they don't do this here, or just have to. It's very hard for me to conform, right? I would say, okay, let me try. If I attempt to want to get out of that norm and it doesn't work, then I'll say, Jide, you didn't just get here and say, and they just tell you that this is how it's been done, and you just take it and you didn't make effort. No, at least they told you this is how it's been done here. You made effort, that effort didn't go through, but you made effort, right? That way I'm able to pack myself to say, I didn't just come and then they told me that this is how it's been done, and then I just conform, right? And in most cases, I don't come in in a confrontational way, or in a way that it seems like I want to come and upset the system. No, I come in, I try to explore relationships, engage, interact with people, and then I realize that this is not even as hard as people are saying it. This environment is not as hostile as they are making it seem. Like you can't have your way around getting your things passed, right? And then things work for me in that way. And so this is the mindset I took on. Even when after my whole NYC program, I got into a 9 to 5. Yeah, I didn't just get into entrepreneurship. after this. I did a 9 to 5 practicing planning for a couple of years. And I was also fortunate enough to get the support of my employer at the time to be able to push my stuff by the side. Not everyone will be lucky enough for some of these things. But I was lucky to get the support of my employer at the time to say, he understands I was doing something by the side, right? I was also giving my best to the job, right? But he allowed me, if I need to spend time doing my things by the side while I'm also getting the job done. But I was able to balance it. So it's not like I was giving too much time to my side stuff and I was letting the job suffer. So I was able to balance that stuff. So not everyone will have that opportunity or that privilege to be doing their 9 to 5 and also doing their side hustle. But I think I was able to realize the support from the place of, I didn't just sit back to conform and say, no, if I go and ask for this permission now, what will they say? Will they grant it, right? I was also taking the business of my employer like it's my business, right? I'm always thinking about what can we improve in our process. I was also thinking about how can we move this company forward from where we are now. Interestingly, I brought some clients and partnerships to the business, right? And that also sort of increased my ranking or my value, right? Like from here to here in the organization. And so it makes sense that when I meet my employer to say, sir, I need this time away to do XYZ, it makes sense why he's granting me such opportunity, because he sees that I'm bringing more value to the organization as an employee. So yeah, so it's that mindset of not conforming, always looking for how things can be better, always looking for what can I create, what improvement can I bring, whether I'm an employer, whether I'm an employee or an employer or a volunteer, because I also get to volunteer a lot. Because in volunteering too, I also get to be able to also connect with people, also learn about things, how things are being done and what can be improved. Yeah.
So thank you so much, and God bless your employer for being so supportive.
Yeah, God bless.
But then,
God bless them.
like you said, you stood out as a worker. You brought in your best. So you bring in your aim. So that's, of course, will encourage anybody to support you. They know you're not taking time off work to play, or you're not doing something that will distract you from the growth or being productive at work. So key things that I learned, that I heard from just what you said now: keep an open mind. For a youth who wants to be a Babajide Oluwase, keep an open mind, try new things, and identify gaps. In doing that, you just might be finding creating your own new business and finding your own thing. And if you have to do something before you start your own as an entrepreneur, be outstanding and the productive staff, so that you might just get the blessing, the pour anointing oil on top of your head as an employer.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Mr.
And then
Babajide.
surrounding
I would
yourself
like
with
that anybody
people,
listening can follow you.
surrounding yourself with people of like mind is
Yes,
important. At
that
some point, it gets
is key.
tiring, it gets demotivating, it gets like,
Of like
who
minds.
send me a message, right? But when you have that community of like minds to run to, they tell you it's okay, it's a normal thing. They can support you in this way, support
Yes,
you in that way. Then you know you are not alone.
it's a normal thing. Yes, very important. Do you have any social media handles, or do you sharing, or do you have a mentoring group so that people listening can follow you and avail themselves?
Well, so I don't have a structured
I'm
mentoring
listening
group
to.
yet. But
Yeah.
as much as my schedule permits, I'm always open
Okay.
to providing support to as much young people as possible in different areas of my own experience, of my own expertise, and the like. So, I mean, a faster way to connect with me is, I mean, by just typing my name on Google, will give you. I mean, I use the same name all over the platforms. So you could shoot me DM via Instagram, via LinkedIn. LinkedIn works faster. And then maybe via my email address, which is jideoluwase@gmail.com. jideoluwase@gmail.com. Yeah, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a DM, and then we can take it up from there.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. So, like you've heard it, it's jideoluwase@gmail.com. Send an email. Don't waste time. And LinkedIn is faster. just Google the name Babajide Oluwase, and all the platforms that you need to connect are there. Find a mentor that will help you achieve your dreams. And I want to say thank you so much, Babajide. Sorry, I've given you the title of governor already.
I've heard that a lot.
Oluwase,
I've heard that a
the
lot.
management of Agbari Multimedia. I say thank you for your.
It's all right. It's all right. It's
so
all
much
right.
for joining me.
Yeah.
And I hope next time you can come again.
Yeah. Just reach out.
Thank you so much to all of you for joining me, for listening. And you don't have to watch without commenting. You can leave a comment. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe to the Agbari Multimedia YouTube channel. And don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are there every time. Only it's faster, just like I said. So I come your way again next time. I am Nima Kashazibiri. Be inspired by this interview and get ready to be the next Amazon and Afripreneur to be celebrated here.
We are not here for food. Gaskiya.
The family has concluded that you pocket this building with your children.
It's still this inheritance issue. My in-laws are bent on taking everything from me because my children are girls.
If you ask me, I would advise you better listen to them and do what they say.
Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
I will deal with them.
Talk to her to heed to the family's directive, or else.
Or else what?
Have you ever thought of me writing my will?
Will? How? Where? What's wrong with you? Are you okay? He did not write a will because he didn't know he was going to die.
Writing my will doesn't mean that I want to die.